20. Gospel legends who couldn't stop cheating. What if you found out that behind the holy music, bright smiles, and powerful voices, some of gospel's biggest legends were living double lives? While fans looked up to them as symbols of faith and family, their private choices painted a very different picture. These singers weren't just shaking church walls with their voices. They were shaking up their own lives with secret affairs, hidden romances, and scandals that would have shattered their spotless images. Get ready, because you're about to hear the shocking stories of 20 gospel icons who simply couldn't stop cheating. 20. Donnie McClurkin. Donnie McClurkin built a huge gospel career with his powerful voice, emotional songs, and raw testimony about his struggle. But behind all that success, he carried a storm of relationship drama that followed him for decades. Even though he never openly admitted to cheating, the constant accusations, complicated romantic situations, and stories whispered through church circles painted a different picture. Fans saw a man who preached purity while wrestling with messy personal choices that kept resurfacing. His relationships were often filled with confusion, sudden breakups, and people claiming he wasn't always honest about who he was involved with. The tension between his public image and private life made everything feel even more dramatic. Every time he tried to settle down, new rumors would pop up, suggesting he was juggling emotional attachments he didn't want to acknowledge. His love life became a puzzle people still talk about. Not because it was normal celebrity gossip, but because it showed how even gospel legends sometimes fall into patterns they can't control. Donnie's story feels like a slow-burning fire that never fully went out, always sparking again just when people thought it had finally cooled. 19. Fred Hammond. Fred Hammond is one of the most respected voices in modern gospel, known for soulful music that lifts people up. But while his songs brought peace to millions, his personal life often looked the complete opposite. Throughout his rise, cheating rumors kept swirling around him, coming from old friends, church communities, and even people close to his marriage. Nothing stayed truly private, and every whisper made the story bigger. His calm public appearance didn't match the behind-the-scenes turbulence people kept exposing. The drama followed him through major career milestones, creating a contrast fans couldn't ignore. Even though he remained focused on music, the conversations about infidelity never seemed to stop. They resurfaced every few years, usually when he tried to step into a new chapter of life. The pattern painted a picture of a man who struggled to stay committed, especially when fame brought constant attention and temptation. His talent was unquestionable, but the personal choices attached to his name made his journey look far more complicated than the smooth, comforting sound he became famous for. Fred's story reminds people that even the most admired gospel icons often hide battles no one hears in the songs they sing. 18. Ben Tankard. Ben Tankard built his name with smooth gospel jazz hits, luxury-filled branding, and a polished image that made him look untouchable. But behind that shine, his personal life spun into one messy story after another, especially when it came to women. As his fame grew, so did the whispers, claims that he entertained relationships outside his marriage, that he blurred lines with admirers, and that he lived a double life offstage. Even people who once worked with him hinted there was always more happening behind closed doors than the public ever saw. His glamorous lifestyle fed the narrative, making the cheating rumors feel even more believable. Every time he tried presenting himself as a picture of stability, new claims would surface, painting him as a man who struggled with temptation and attention. The contrast between his inspirational message and the chaos around his relationships created a tension that people in gospel circles still talk about. Ben's name became one of those stories where music success couldn't hide the personal storms that kept pushing their way into the spotlight. 17. Bishop Marvin L. Winans. Bishop Marvin L. Winans comes from one of the most beloved gospel families in the world, and his voice carried him to the highest levels of respect. But even with that spiritual influence, his personal life became a magnet for long-running cheating accusations. During his marriage, church members and insiders often whispered about his involvement with other women. Nothing exploded publicly in a dramatic way, but the steady flow of rumors built a consistent picture. one where he struggled to stay faithful despite his leadership role. His divorce only added fuel, with people claiming that infidelity played a part behind the scene. Because he held such a high position in the church, every rumor felt louder, heavier, and more damaging. His calm, polished public image didn't match the private stories spreading through congregations and gospel circles. Over time, his name became tied to the idea of a man trying to balance spiritual responsibility with personal decisions that kept slipping out of control. It created a quiet storm around him, one that never fully went away. 16. Bishop Paul S. Morton. Bishop Paul S. Morton earned respect as a powerhouse singer and influential leader. But his early ministry years carried a shadow many fans never forgot. He once admitted he struggled with infidelity, and that confession followed him throughout his long career. Even though he claimed to have changed, the public rarely lets go of a story once it lands, especially in the gospel world. His cheating past became a permanent part of his narrative, brought up every time a new controversy surfaced in the church community. People saw a man with incredible gifts, but also a weakness that shaped his reputation. His leadership role made everything more dramatic, because expectations for bishops are sky high, and any slip becomes a headline. The old scandal didn't stop his music or ministry, but it created an unshakable reminder that even prominent leaders can fall into patterns that nearly break everything they built. Morton's journey stands out because it shows how deeply cheating can affect a public figure long after the moment has passed. 15. Hezekiah Walker. Hezekiah Walker's name is tied to some of the biggest choir hits ever recorded, but his marriage became the center of a painful cheating scandal that shook the gospel community. When his wife accused him of infidelity, the story spread quickly because Walker was seen as a symbol of holiness and gospel excellence. Fans were stunned that a man who delivered such powerful worship music could be linked to something so destructive. The scandal grew even bigger when more personal details leaked, making it clear the situation wasn't a simple misunderstanding. Walker tried to keep things private, but the rumors and accusations created a cloud around him, especially as the marriage fell apart. His calm public presence didn't match what insiders were saying, and every new detail made the story feel heavier. Even after the divorce, the cheating scandal remained attached to his name, creating a contrast between his inspirational music and the emotional wreckage behind it. His legacy became marked by this moment where his personal choices collided with his public ministry in a way audiences never forgot. 14. Bishop Noel Jones. Bishop Noel Jones became one of the most recognizable figures in modern church culture, thanks to his powerful preaching, gospel connections, and flashy lifestyle that kept him in the spotlight. But as his fame grew, so did the constant cheating rumors that chased him for years. His relationships were always complicated, public, and filled with gray areas that made people talk. Because he often appeared with different women and carried himself like a celebrity instead of a traditional bishop, the stories spread even faster. Every time he tried explaining his private life, more gossip surfaced, usually involving claims that he wasn't as committed as he appeared. His long, drawn-out relationship with Loretta sparked even more accusations, because many believed he entertained other women on the side. Whether true or not, the pattern of suspicion became a defining part of his public image. People in gospel circles saw him as a man constantly pulled between spiritual responsibility and personal choices that made headlines. His story remains one of the most discussed examples of how charisma, fame, and temptation can mix into something impossible to control. 13. Bishop Clarence McClendon. Bishop Clarence McClendon was already a rising star in gospel ministry when his sudden divorce and almost immediate remarriage shocked church communities everywhere. The timing was so close that people quickly assumed infidelity was the reason behind the split. Rumors spread that he had been involved with the woman he later married while still committed to his first wife. The controversy grew into one of the biggest scandals of his career, especially because he held such a respected leadership position. His glamorous, high-profile lifestyle only added fuel, making it easy for people to believe he was living in ways that didn't match his preaching. Even after he defended himself, the claims didn't die. Instead, they became part of his story, with many followers convinced the divorce exposed a hidden pattern of unfaithfulness. His ministry continued, But the cheating accusations never fully left his name, becoming a shadow over everything he did afterward. McClendon's journey shows how quickly a leader's private decisions can turn into a public storm, especially when the timeline raises more questions than explanation. 12. Pastor Jamal Bryant. Pastor Jamal Bryant is deeply connected to gospel music culture, but his reputation became dominated by repeated cheating scandals that broke the internet multiple times. He admitted to stepping outside his marriage, and over the years, more women came forward with claims of affairs, secret relationships, and emotional entanglement. Every scandal hit like a wave, each one bigger than the last, because Bryant held a prestigious pastoral position and preached messages about discipline and morality. His charm and confidence made him popular, but they also drew more attention to the private decisions that kept blowing up in public. The controversies grew so large that they overshadowed much of his ministry work, creating a narrative of a man who couldn't escape temptation. Even when he tried rebuilding his image, another story would surface, pulling him back into the same cycle. His name became almost synonymous with messy relationship drama in the church world. The cheating scandals weren't small rumors. They became defining chapters that shaped how people saw him as both a leader and a man. 11. John P. Kee. John P. Kee is one of gospel's most powerful voices. But behind the music was a personal life full of messy relationship stories and cheating rumors that followed him for years. Before becoming a major gospel figure, Kee lived a wild life, and many of those old habits carried over into his early ministry days. As fame grew, so did the stories of him seeing multiple women, hiding relationships, and creating drama inside church circles. People close to him claimed he struggled with staying faithful, especially during the height of his career. Some of the accusations became so widespread that they overshadowed parts of his ministry, painting him as a man still wrestling with past behavior. Even as he matured spiritually, the cheating rumors never fully went away. His transformation inspired many, but the complicated personal history remained part of his legacy. Kee's journey shows how deep old patterns can reach, especially when someone is fighting to change while the world keeps remembering who they used to be. 10. Bishop Eddie Long. Bishop Eddie Long wasn't just a gospel singer. He was a megachurch leader whose influence reached across the world, but his reputation became dominated by scandal after scandal, involving inappropriate relationships, affairs, and accusations that shook the church community. Even before the massive legal cases, Long was already surrounded by rumors of cheating and hidden relationships that didn't match his public persona. His luxurious lifestyle and bold personality made every accusation feel bigger, turning each incident into national news. While his supporters tried defending him, the controversies never stopped growing, and the more he denied the claims, the more people dug into his personal life. His name eventually became tied to one of the most talked-about scandals in modern church history, overshadowing decades of ministry work. The cheating allegations, along with the larger accusations, painted a picture of a man living a complicated double life. Eddie Long's story remains one of the most dramatic examples of how power, fame, and secrecy can spin into a storm that never fully dies down. 9. Pastor John Gray. Pastor John Gray became one of the most talked-about names in modern ministry, not because of his sermons, but because of the repeated cheating scandals that exploded across social media. Every time he tried to repair his marriage and rebuild trust, another story surfaced. Women came forward claiming emotional affairs, secret conversations, gifts, trips, and promises he should never have made while married. Each scandal hit harder than the last because he often preached about loyalty, family, and commitment while privately making choices that contradicted his message. His tearful public apologies kept going viral, showing a man battling habits he couldn't seem to break. Even when he insisted nothing physical happened, the evidence people shared made the stories impossible to ignore. His wife stood beside him through multiple humiliating moments, which made the situation even more dramatic. John Gray turned into a symbol of how fame, attention, and charisma can pull a public figure into dangerous territory. No matter how many times he tried starting over, temptation always seemed to grab hold again, leaving behind a trail of broken trust and public disappointment. 8. Dietrick Haddon. Dietrick Haddon shocked the gospel world when he openly admitted to cheating on his wife, a confession that turned into one of the biggest scandals of his career. The situation became even more dramatic when it was revealed that the affair led to a pregnancy, making the story impossible to hide. Fans were stunned because Haddon was known for passionate worship music and strong messages about spiritual discipline. His downfall felt like a twist no one saw coming. After the scandal broke, he tried to explain the emotional stress he was under, but the public had already formed its own opinion. Gospel communities reacted strongly, with some defending him and others saying he had destroyed his credibility. Even as he married the woman involved in the affair and moved forward with his life, the cheating story stuck to his name. It became a permanent chapter in his journey, shaping how people viewed his music, his ministry, and his personal choices. Haddon's scandal remains one of the most talked about moments in modern gospel history, because it blended love, betrayal, and public confession into a storm that changed everything around him. 7. James Fortune. James Fortune built his success on heartfelt gospel hits, but his personal life became filled with accusations that made fans look at him differently. Along with legal troubles and abuse allegations, cheating rumors kept surfacing over the years, creating a picture of a man whose relationships were constantly in chaos. People close to him claimed he had a pattern of stepping outside his commitments, especially during the height of his fame. The combination of domestic issues and infidelity rumors formed a complicated reputation that followed him through every chapter of his career. Even when he tried to change, the stories kept resurfacing, making it hard for him to escape the mistakes of his past. Gospel circles talked about how his private decisions often overshadowed his musical talent, turning him into a controversial figure. The turbulence around his relationships made him one of the more polarizing names in gospel, with fans struggling to separate the singer from the scandals that surrounded him. 6. Daryl Walls. Daryl Walls had a bright future with the Walls Group, a family ensemble admired for their powerful harmonies and youthful energy. But as his popularity grew, so did the rumors about his complicated relationship. Leaked situations brought his private life into the public eye, sparking conversations about secret partners, emotional entanglements, and claims that he wasn't always faithful. Even though he never publicly admitted to cheating, the behavior shown in the leaked moments created an image of a man living two different realities. Fans who admired his talent were suddenly confronted with a darker side, filled with rumors of broken trust and hidden affairs. The scandal turned into one of the most heavily discussed moments in gospel music because it showed how quickly fame can open the door to temptation, especially for younger artists. Daryl's journey became a reminder that private choices can explode into the spotlight when least expected. 5. Kevin Bond. Kevin Bond is known as one of the most successful gospel producers, but behind the studio work were years of cheating rumors and relationship turmoil. Artists, insiders, and people who worked closely with him often whispered that he had a habit of getting involved with multiple women at the same time, even when he was supposed to be committed. These stories stayed alive because they came from people who saw him up close, not random gossip blogs. Over time, the rumors painted a consistent pattern, linking him to affairs that disrupted his personal stability and even affected professional partnerships. His polished industry reputation didn't match the messy relationship stories swirling around him. As more people shared their experiences, his name became tied to the idea of a man who struggled with staying faithful in environments filled with attention and temptation. The cheating rumors didn't destroy his career, but they created a complicated legacy where musical success and personal controversy collided. 4. Tye Tribbett. Tye Tribbett became one of the most electric voices in modern gospel, known for his high-energy performances, raw emotion, and the kind of worship music that could shake an entire room. But behind that powerful ministry was a personal life that spun into chaos, especially when he confessed to cheating on his wife. His affair wasn't a rumor or a whisper. It was a public admission that shocked his fans. The story became even more tangled when it came out that his wife also stepped outside the marriage afterward, revealing how deeply the emotional damage had gone on both sides. Tribbett tried to explain the pressure of fame, the temptations around him, and the cracks forming in their relationship long before the affair, but the gospel community wasn't quick to forget. For many people, the contrast between his passionate worship leadership and the betrayal behind closed doors felt almost unbelievable. His music talked about victory and spiritual strength, yet he had fallen into one of the most painful human weaknesses. Even though he worked hard to rebuild his marriage and reputation, the cheating scandal became a permanent part of his story. Every interview, every comeback project, and every message about redemption reminded people of the moment everything nearly fell apart. Tye Tribbett's journey shows how even the brightest stars in gospel can struggle deeply with personal decisions that collide with their public calling. His story is one of talent, temptation, and the long, exhausting road of repairing trust after it has been shattered in front of the world. 3. Houghton. Houghton was one of the most respected names in contemporary gospel, known for groundbreaking worship songs and a calm, humble presence that resonated with millions. But everything shifted when he admitted he had been unfaithful during his more than 20-year marriage. His public confession hit the gospel world like a shockwave, because it didn't come from rumors or accusation. It came from his own statement. He revealed that his choices had damaged his marriage beyond repair. And even though he tried to frame the confession with honesty, people couldn't ignore the pain. Behind the story, his divorce became a major topic in church circles, and many questioned whether a leader of worship should remain on stage after such a betrayal. The situation grew even bigger when he entered a new relationship quickly, which made critics believe there was more to the story than he admitted. His fans still loved his music, but his clean, humble image began to crack under the weight of the scandal. For a long time, everything he released was viewed through the lens of the cheating confession. Israel's journey shows how one mistake, even when acknowledged openly, can reshape an entire public identity. Despite his efforts to rebuild spiritually and emotionally, the cheating scandal became a defining moment in his career, a moment that reminded everyone that even the most talented, spirit-filled leaders can fall into choices that change their lives forever. 2. Marvin Sapp. Marvin Sapp has one of the most recognizable voices in gospel, delivering emotional music that pushes listeners toward hope and healing. But behind his celebrated career sat years of complicated rumors about his relationships and private behavior. Even though he never publicly confirmed cheating, people around him often whispered about the women who seemed too close, the friendships that looked like more than friendships, and the emotional bonds that didn't match his public image as a committed husband. These stories grew louder after his wife passed away, with some claiming there had been issues long before her illness. Gospel circles buzzed with talk about blurred boundaries and secret attachments that fueled speculation. Because Sapp kept most of his personal life private, the rumors had room to grow, making them sound even more believable. Every time he appeared with someone new or formed a close bond with a woman in ministry, people connected it back to the long-standing claims that he struggled with staying faithful. His success in music never slowed, but his name became tied to a subtle pattern of relationship drama that shadowed his reputation. Marvin Sapp's story highlights how rumors, especially in the church world, can follow someone for years, building an image of infidelity even without a direct confession. The whispers created a version of him that many still associate with complicated love, emotional entanglements, and secrets that never fully stayed hidden. 1. Kirk Franklin. Kirk Franklin changed gospel music with his bold style, fearless creativity, and ability to connect with people far beyond church walls. While millions admired his talent, his private life carried struggles that eventually bled into his relationships. Kirk has openly talked about his past battles with addiction to explicit content, explaining how it shaped unhealthy habits, emotional distance, and patterns that damaged his marriage. Even though he didn't frame it as traditional cheating, the addiction created the same emotional betrayal that breaks trust in any relationship. His wife publicly supported him, but the journey wasn't easy. The battle affected how he viewed intimacy, commitment, and honesty. Over time, more stories emerged about moments when his private life seemed out of alignment with his public message. People close to him hinted that his emotional unfaithfulness played a major role in the rocky seasons of his marriage. The tension between his raw transparency and the baggage he carried created a powerful but complicated narrative. His redemption journey inspired fans, but the underlying theme remained the same: his inability to stop slipping into behaviors that resembled infidelity. Kirk Franklin's life became a testament to how personal demons can shape a marriage just as painfully as cheating, especially when someone is balancing fame, pressure, and a past filled with unresolved wounds. When you look back at these stories, it's wild how even the most inspiring voices can hide the biggest secret. Fame, faith, pressure, and temptation. They all mixed and created chaos behind the curtain. But now that you've seen what really went on, it makes you wonder, how well do we really know the people we praise? If you want more deep dives into the shocking truths behind your favorite stars, hit that like button, subscribe, and turn on notifications. You don't want to miss what's coming next. So are you ready for another story that will leave you speechless?